I never thought a single day could completely change your life, but that day, the day of my grandfather's will reading, proved me wrong. From the moment I walked into the grand hall, I felt it. The cold stares of my cousins, the smirks from distant relatives I barely knew, and that faint, almost imperceptible whisper of expectation from the lawyer at the head of the room. Asterisk, asterisk, everyone was waiting for something spectacular. But not for me. I realized that immediately. I had always been the odd one in the family. While my cousins inherited fortunes, luxury cars, and high-paying jobs, I was the kid who got hand-me-downs, the one who never seemed to fit in at family gatherings. Maybe that's why I was never surprised when people laughed at me, but this time, it stung differently. The lawyer shuffled papers, cleared his throat, and then looked directly at me. And now, for my name, asterisk, asterisk, I took a deep breath, my palms sweating as I stepped forward. Everyone's eyes felt like 1,000 tiny lasers drilling into me, measuring my worth. Asterisk, he handed me a small, rusted key. Asterisk, that was it. Asterisk, I stared at it, feeling the weight of every mocking gaze. My aunt's smirk widened, my cousins chuckled, barely hiding their amusement. Asterisk, a key? One of them sneered. Maybe it opens the shed behind the house. Asterisk, I forced a smile, trying not to show the confusion, the disappointment, the shock. Everyone assumed I'd be embarrassed, maybe even break down. But deep down, something told me this key wasn't meaningless. My grandfather had never given anything without reason. Asterisk after the reading. While everyone else clutched their envelopes and boxes filled with jewelry and property deeds, I quietly left the hall. I examined the key. It was old, brass, and oddly heavy for its size. On its bow was a tiny engraving, 13, asterisk, the number stuck in my mind. I remembered my grandfather telling me something years ago. When I was just a kid, some doors are meant to stay closed until the right moment, and only you will know when it's time to open them. Asterisk, I didn't understand then. But now, standing there with this key in my hand, I felt a shiver run down my spine. That night, I couldn't sleep. The key felt like it was whispering to me, pulling me toward the old family mansion. I drove there under the cover of darkness, the streets empty, my mind racing with every what if I could imagine. Asterisk, the house looked abandoned, but familiar. Dust hung in the air like a memory, and the scent of old wood and leather filled my senses. Every corner I turned seemed to whisper fragments of the past, my grandfather's laughter, my mother's voice calling me for dinner, my cousins teasing. Asterisk, I found the study eventually. Behind a bookshelf, hidden from plain sight, was a wooden chest. It was covered in dust, its lock untouched for decades. My hand trembled as I slid the key into the lock. It fit perfectly. Asterisk, the lid creaked open slowly, revealing its contents, stacks of letters, photographs, documents, and a sealed envelope with my name written across it. Asterisk, I started sifting through the papers. At first, it was confusing random notes, scribbles, ledgers. But as I dug deeper, a pattern emerged. Asterisk, asterisk, the documents revealed secrets my grandfather had kept from everyone. Business deals made in shadows, partnerships built on lies, inheritances that were stolen or hidden, and betrayals that ran deeper than I had ever imagined. Asterisk, some photos showed my relatives in moments I never knew existed, secret meetings, handshakes with people no one talked about, exchanges of envelopes that probably contained more than just money. Asterisk, and then I found the letter addressed to me. My hands shook as I broke the seal and unfolded it. Asterisk, to you, the only one I trust. They laughed because they never knew. The real legacy is not money, it is truth. With these papers, you hold the power to expose them all. Choose wisely. Asterisk, I couldn't believe it. The key, the chest, the laughter at the reading, it was all part of something bigger. My grandfather had known what would happen and had prepared me for this moment. Asterisk, over the next few days, I struggled with what to do. Every time I thought about exposing the family, I imagined the chaos it would cause. But I also remembered the laughter from that hall, the mockery, the assumption that I was worthless. Asterisk finally, I made a decision. I called everyone to the mansion under the pretense of going through my grandfather's old belongings. They arrived curious, some annoyed. None of them expecting what was coming. Asterisk, I laid the documents out on the table, one by one. Watching their expressions change from curiosity to shock to disbelief. Asterisk, what is this? One cousin demanded, his voice shaky. Asterisk, I looked each of them in the eye. This is the truth. Every secret, every hidden deal, every betrayal your grandfather covered up. And yes, it all leads back to the choices we make and the lies we tell. Asterisk, the room erupted. Shouts, accusations, denials, some tried to grab papers, others tried to flee. But I stayed calm. I had anticipated this. I had rehearsed this in my head 1,000 times, asterisk, and then I reached the final envelope. This one is for me, I said. I opened it slowly, savoring the weight of the moment. Inside was a letter and a key, another key, smaller, intricately carved. Asterisk, it wasn't just a key. It was a map to the real inheritance. My grandfather had left me not just knowledge, but power. The money, the property, even the companies, they were all mine to claim. But more importantly, I held the leverage, the evidence, the truth that no one else had. Asterisk, the laughter from the will reading echoed in my head, but now it felt different. Now I understood why I had been given the key, why I had been mocked. I was never the fool. I was the one who would decide how the family's legacy was rewritten, asterisk, by the end of the night. The room was silent. My relatives stared at me, some with fear, some with envy, all with realization. The power dynamic had shifted in an instant. Asterisk, and as I looked around at the shocked faces, I realized something even more profound. The key had unlocked not just a chest, but a truth about myself. I had always been underestimated, always overlooked, but now, for the first time, I was in control. Asterisk, the story didn't end there. There were letters, photographs, and secrets yet to uncover. And as I sat in the study, the keys in my hand, I knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same again. Asterisk, I had stepped into my grandfather's plan, but I would write my own ending. And that night, the laughter, mocking, cruel, confident laughter finally faded, replaced by something far more powerful: respect, fear, and the quiet, heavy weight of truth.